Hey, what's going on, guys? It's VenomousFatman here, the epic one. I'm here on the bit, the boys in the tube, and right now I'm sitting down with OJ, also known as John Harrington, from the show. You know that if you guys have ever checked out the show over on John Rambo Presents, he's over there. He does Schnozman and Hole Punch, and he's also on Project 7 with DSP as well. So, OJ, what's happening, bro?
Hey, I'm just glad to be here. What can I say?
Awesome. So, what's going on with you, man? What you been up to? How's everything been going?
Everything was going all right. Just trying to play a little bit of catch up. I've got probably a bunch of stuff, video footage I took at the Penny Arcade Expo East this year that I haven't gotten around to doing. I had a few issues crop up a couple weeks ago that kind of knocked me out of commission for a bit, but slowly but surely working on that. And then actually, we just got a Schnozman and Hole Punch, the Justice League episode 4 coming out this Saturday, so it's been busy.
Sounds awesome. So later we're gonna get into some PAX East stuff because I didn't know you went to PAX East. I know that
Oh dear.
I know Phil at one point was talking about it, but then he decided not to go. But we'll get into that later. So let's start off though. At the very beginning. How did you and Phil and you and John meet up? How did things kind of come from a beginning like that? And then lead into everything else.
All right. Well, a long, long time ago, in a small town not that far away, I started talking about video games with a friend of mine on the school bus. This was about middle school for me, like seventh or eighth grade. And I said something about video games, and this dude who's sitting a couple seats over says, "Huh, what was that?" And it was John. We just started talking about stuff because he lived in the same neighborhood we did, and he liked games too. So from that, we all just started John, myself, and a couple other friends. We just started hanging out every Friday. John would drive us around, take us to the local arcades where he would destroy everyone at Capcom versus SNK2, and I would lose horribly. Um, and from there, our friendship just kind of grew and continued on after I went away to school, only getting to see him, on holidays and during the summer. But I ended up getting a job back in Connecticut, not too far from where John's living. And in that time, he met DSP and started hanging out with him. And when John was about to go over to Japan for Super Battle Opera, he DSP convinced him to start up a YouTube channel, and people said, "No, no, no, show us about your trip." And I went to Japan with John, and appeared in some of his videos there, and we just started recording there. And then when we got back, John's continued on with his channel, and then I helped him out with a couple of interviewing John things. Was it John Rambo's mailbag, a few other things, and it just went on. I mean, it started really. John knew Phil, I knew John. It's a trickle down thing.
It was like a networking thing, pretty much, for the
Yeah.
story. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So before we get into more questions, I want to find out a little bit of what was your experience like, with John over in Japan. Let me ask you this one, kind of standard to everybody I ask it to. What was like your introduction into video games, or like how did you start gaming, and what was the spark that lit the flame?
Well, my first game was many years ago. I was a small child, and across from the post office there was a corner store. And in this corner store, they had a Pac-Man machine. And I would beg my mom for quarters. I remember the first time I ever really remember playing a video game, I begged my mom for quarters and put them in. I thought I was the ghosts, and I was supposed to catch this yellow jerk who kept eating all of our little dots. So I'm chasing him around. I didn't get to play long, but I won every game. Because, the ghosts got Pac-Man and yeah.
Awesome.
That
Anyway.
that was it right there. That was like the beginning.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, and from there, I'm pretty sure you went over to console gaming, as well as the rest of
Yeah.
arcade gaming.
Well, the console gaming thing was pretty funny. So the first time I met someone who was going to be like my best friend throughout elementary through high school, he just moved to the neighborhood. It was a fellow named Mark. And my parents were like, "Oh, new family neighborhood here. Let's introduce everybody." So they took me over to his house. And I never got a chance to play Nintendo or anything. So naturally, the first thing I say when I meet this kid, we walk into his house. I'm like, the first words I say, "Do you have Nintendo?" Like in this hyperactive little kid voice. He's like, "Yup." And I was so happy. And then he said, "But it's not hooked up yet."
Oh, that's
And
just
I was
cruel.
sad. Yeah, yeah. So I guess what is it? What's the word? Sharpened my teeth on the NES, playing Tecmo Super Bowl, Mario Brothers, all that good stuff. Losing at Duck Hunt, getting laughed at by the dog.
Oh, that's just rude.
Yeah, I know. I mean, when I was a little kid, though, I was convinced I was the best person at cleaning out NES cartridges. I mean, you always had to blow into them, and I always thought, well, that's stupid. You're going to blow more dust in there. So being the ingenious idiot that I was, I would cover most of the controller with the port with my hand, and then I'd actually inhale, trying to suck the dust out, not thinking
Whoa,
that if you suck the dust out, it's going straight into your lungs.
that's hilarious on so many
Yeah.
levels.
So, in a completely unrelated note, I had asthma as a child.
Oh man, wow. But anyway, that after that one, that's crazy. But let's move on from there. You mentioned you went to Japan with John. If you haven't seen the videos out there, listeners, go check out the videos. I believe it's on John Ramper Presents.
Yeah, they're all there.
They're all there. When you guys went over to the Super Battle Opera, which is also known as Togeki,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit because we saw John's perspective, and then we kind of got a little bit of insight from Phil. When John went over there, him describing it to him or whatnot. But what was your perspective from when you actually went down there with John? What was it like for you hanging out in Japan, checking out this tournament that everybody's going nuts over, playing fighting games? What was it like?
Well, it was interesting for me because I had been to Japan once before. I studied abroad there in college, and it was strange because this time I was coming over with people I knew who didn't study Japanese, who didn't really have much. I guess they don't think they had too much of an idea what to expect. So I got over there. I'm like, for me, it was a little bit of this is weird. I'm back, but I haven't studied the language in 3 years. Oh. So it was strange because everything was familiar. Because I lived just outside Tokyo for 3 months, but coming back, it was hard because I forgot so much of the language. I hadn't been there in so long. Every little trick and whatnot I remembered like didn't quite apply anymore. The saved game cards I brought back to the arcades didn't mean anything because the game was gone. So it yeah, they those stupid little cards paid $5 to be able to save my game and whatnot. Nope.
So much for that
But
plan.
yeah, I mean, I didn't have a camera. All I had was a digital still camera that could take maybe 10 minutes of video and then fill up the memory card. So I was being rather frugal. So I didn't really take any video. I spent a lot of the time wandering around with John being the world's worst translator.
Oh, really?
I forgot so much of the language. I didn't start remembering it till like 2 days before John left. When we got to the tournament, it was great. We go up to the security desk and they're asking some questions and they're like, Hasami o motte ka? I'm like, Hasami? What the? I'm thinking to myself, what is this word? I've heard it before. Then somebody finally comes over and says, do you have any knives on you? I'm like, wait,
Whoa, at a
knives?
video game
Oh,
tournament?
yeah, to make sure you weren't going into the convention center with knives or anything. The actual word they were using was apparently scissors, but the same deal. So I'm like, so finally we're just like, no. And they're like, oh, okay. And they just waved us through.
That must have been awkward.
It was kind of awkward. I mean, I felt pretty bad having forgotten all this stuff. I thought, I was going to get over there and be like, yeah, John, all right, here's Akihabara. You go this way, you go that way, you can do this, you can buy this, there's this store, there's that store. And mostly I was just like, yes, I dimly remember there being an arcade here and a video game store here.
Ah, that's crazy, man. But overall, was the trip overall fun for you? I mean, did you get to do like other things outside of the actual game tournament that was going on there?
Oh yeah, it was amazing. John and I and Biron, after the tournament, we started exploring a lot. I mean, we got to go to we'd already pretty much done Akihabara a lot, but we wandered around to some other places. I don't remember if Biron came with us to Harajuku, but I know John and I went there, which is where they have all the really ridiculously dressed people and
Oh
really
yeah.
strange stores. Um,
Did you guys go
then
to
we
a
went.
maid cafe?
Gosh, no, we didn't. Though we saw plenty of people advertising for them. It was fun explaining the concept.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was. We got to go see a few other things. I was kind of sad that John and Biron didn't have time to go with us to go to see the Imperial Gardens. I got to go there. I guess. I mean, I think the day after John and Biron flew home, I still had another 3 or 4 days in Japan. So I wandered around. I think I took maybe 100 or 200 pictures just at the gardens alone. It was pretty funny. I'm wandering around, you know, and then this old man comes up to me and he points at a tree and he's like, "Mezarashi kinoko deyo." Yeah, "Mezarashi kinoko deyo." I'm like, "What? What?" And I'm thinking to myself, "That's a rare mushroom." And I look up at the tree and there's this weird mushroom hanging out of the boughs of a tree over there. And he starts laughing and wanders off. I'm like, "What? What?"
That's awkward.
It was
Random
pretty. I mean,
person.
it was pretty cool. I don't know why he thought I'd actually know Japanese since I am totally a foreigner, but it was just kind of cool. Like I'm there, I'm wandering around this place all by myself. It's huge. I'm getting lost. There's pretty flowers everywhere. And then this guy just wanders over and starts talking to me. He's like, "That's a rare mushroom," and then wanders off,
That
laughing.
that sounds like a mysterious message in the making there, or
Yeah.
something like that. But that's pretty crazy. So last thing before we kind of cut it off. So overall, your trip to Japan, outside of the gaming, all that different types of culture and stuff that was going on with the tournament and things like that, it was pretty successful. You had a fun. Did you actually get a chance to maybe go explore some of the arcades down there,
Yeah.
since you're a big
Yeah, we
arcade
did.
man?
Yeah, we did. We got to go see pretty much all the big arcades near the main Akihabara train station, and then we went to I think Mikado was the big, big, big one where that was where all the fighting game players went. Like before the tournament, this is where John and Biron and everybody went to go train because they had, I think, for 500 yen you could play. It was free play, like for all night. And the more people who showed up, the more machines they convert to Street Fighter. And I remember I get there and I played all night, and I finally beat somebody in that arcade. That was
Wow,
like my shining moment.
that's an accomplishment. That's like achievement unlocked down there.
Pretty much. Too bad I hadn't been fireball cheesing. Okay, it wasn't that bad, but still. Like,
Awesome. But anyway, we're coming to the end of this first part of the interview. So, guys, be sure to check out part two as I continue to sit down with OJ here. And we'll be back in just a bit. Stay epic, people.